Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Can't believe it's the middle of the month already. Welcome to day 15 of my Vlogtober live. I hope everybody's doing great. Well, like the last couple days, it has been a little nutty around here. Have had some weird kind of mishaps happening. Today, we did not have Wi-Fi in our house, along with about a million other people where we live, in the Metroplex where we live. And so I was actually away for a lot of the day at a coffee shop working online. And so that's why you're getting a YouTube live video late in the evening. But because it is so late, probably most of you are watching the replay, and if that's the case, we don't need to dwell on it, right? And if you're watching, great. I'm thrilled to have you say hello in the comments. But I want to make sure, I'm really trying to be very vigilant about not missing a day in my YouTube live with you guys in Vlogtober live. So I was racking my brain about what to share today, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to kind of take a cue from what's going on outside. I live in Texas, and yesterday or the day before it was around 85 degrees, and today it was like 40 degrees and rain, like cold rain. And so it dropped drastically, and most people didn't like it, but I love it because I love fall and I love feeling the chill in the air. And so I was actually really happy to like put a fire on today at the house, you know, wear my coat and my lawn sleeve shirt. So I thought, you know, I want to do a cozy video, and what makes me feel like a fall cozy snuggle in with your tea, and other than snuggling in with tea and a book. So I thought it would be fun to share with you guys some fall cozy reads, and then I'll go over what I'm reading right now as well. Everything I'm reading is kind of has a specific type and intention, so I thought it would be more fun to really kind of feature these books that I think are really great to read during the fall, but I'll also share with you what I'm reading, and I'll put all the links to all the books that I mentioned down below. So I kind of racked my brain. I went through the shelves back here. Let me know in the comments if you want a bookshelf tour. Hey, hi Melody. Oh, love Texas. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, I'm enjoying it too, although I have to say sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with how hot it is here all the time. I know that's silly, but I just miss having 4 seasons. But you know, can't have everything. And today Texas delivered, and even though it was rainy and cold, it was fun for me to feel like fall. So I went through these books back here, and let me know if you guys want a bookshelf tour. I know sometimes people enjoy seeing when people have large bookshelves like I do, where I'm trying to stage them all and make them look pretty. It's kind of a work in progress. Some shelves I'm really happy about, like that one. You can see my little Gilmore Girls cup there and my little card catalog cards. And then other shelves I'm still working on. But let me know in the comments if you want to see a bookshelf or office tour, because I will share that with you guys if you want to see it. So I went through that bookshelf and picked out a couple of books, actually 4 to be exact, that I just feel like would be perfect to read in fall. I've shared a couple of these actually with you on favorites videos already. Oh, would love a bookshelf tour. Yay, thank you for letting me know, Melody. I will write that down and get to work on that here in October. I'm glad to hear that you would enjoy seeing that. I hope that these books feel like fall. To me, I wanted to find something that just kind of felt cozy. One of, oh, you know what? I changed one out. I was going to put a mystery in here, and I thought some people might be like, why would a murder mystery be a cozy read? Because that's not normally what I would think either, but there is a series of books that come, there's actually a whole bunch of them, and it's in this really cozy, cool little town in Canada. The books, the Louise books, Inspector Gamache. So this is kind of like a bonus one. I'm not sharing you the book right here, but I actually have way up there in that shelf right there, I put all the books that I read in a calendar year. And I read the first Inspector Gamache book at the beginning of this year, and I think it's a perfect book to read in fall and start the series, because the first book starts in the fall time in this beautiful Quebec village. And so even though they're solving a murder mystery, the people in the town and the characters are just so sweet and lovely, and you read the book and you just want to cozy up with a cup of tea and you want to go see this little village. So that is just an extra title for you guys. I'll put it down in the description box. It is the Inspector Gamache Murder Mysteries, or just mysteries, not murder mysteries, but the Inspector Gamache mysteries. And they take place in the little town of Three Pines in Canada, which is a made-up little village, and it's by Louise. So that's an incredible series to start in the fall. I'm on book 3, and I'm kind of like having a hard time getting into book 3, but it doesn't have anything to do with the book. It's because I'm reading too many other books. But these 4 titles, to me, I think are just the most perfect things to pick up in fall, and I think you guys will agree. So the first one, none of these are brand new. Well, one of them is. One of them came out last month. But the first one is called Bread and Wine, A Love Letter to Life Around the Table with Recipes by Shauna Nyquist. Oh, Melody is asking, will all the books be in the description? Yes, absolutely. After I get off this live, we now have internet. I was telling you at the beginning of the video, if you just tuned in, that I am in Texas and we had a really random outage throughout most of the Metroplex where a lot of us lost our Wi-Fi and internet. And so I couldn't get online all day, and we've got it back. So yes, I will put the links to all the books in the description box for sure, Melody. So check those out. So the first book is Bread and Wine, A Love Letter to Life Around the Table with Recipes by Shauna Nyquist. I adore this book. Shauna Nyquist is one of my favorite authors, and I have all of her books on the back shelves there. And I've recommended all of them, but this one, I feel like if you have not read it, this actually came out a while ago. When it came out, it was a really big hit. It came out in 2013, but if you haven't read it, then you're in luck because this is the perfect time. This is just full of beautiful essays, and she talks about her life and community and her life around the table and how cooking and sharing community with people around meals, how that matters to her. A lot of people have written books like this since she wrote it, but I feel like she just wrote one of the most beautiful books. I mean, she talks about her spirit faith walk a little bit, but you don't have to be a Christian or a person of faith to read this at all. It's really just about like how community matters and time around the table. And she includes some of her favorite recipes at the end of almost every chapter. So, oh, you can't see that. Sorry. The light is bright in here because it's nighttime. But usually when books like this include recipes, I'm like, that's all right. I don't really get that into it. I have made almost every recipe in here. There's blueberry crisp. There is, oh, my mouth is gonna water telling you about it. Steak au poivre with cognac pan sauce. I made that one with my mother-in-law. We had a ball. Goat cheese biscuits, sweet potato fries with sriracha dipping sauce. There's an amazing Caesar dressing and Caesar salad in here, and I have made that salad and the dressing more times than I can tell you for parties. They're really easy recipes. Goat cheese scrambled eggs. I now put goat cheese on my scrambled eggs in the morning because I read about it in this book. This is an incredible book. It feels like fall to me. You just want to snuggle up with a blanket and a cup of tea and enjoy this one. It's so good. I love it. This is probably one of my favorite recommendations I'm giving you for fall. So make sure you check that one out. And then the second title is a new title. I did was it my YouTube live or I filmed this right before I started Vlogtober live. And this book came out the beginning of September. I'm sorry, it's really bright in here. Maybe this will help if you see the cover. This is called I'd Rather Be Reading, The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life by Anne Bogle. Anne Bogle has a very popular podcast called What Should I Read Next? And her blog is Modern Mrs. Darcy. I've read her stuff for years. This is her second book, and I think it's her best book. This is just another little collection of essays, but it makes a wonderful gift. It's a really nice, quick read, but it's all about the reading life. Just aspects of the reading life, what she enjoys about being a reader, just really, really fun stuff. It's, like I said, so quick and easy to read, very relaxing read, and it's a beautiful little gift book. This painting on the cover is of her library. She actually had an artist paint this. It's from her actual library, but some of the essay titles are The Books That Find You, Hooked on the Story, How to Organize Your Bookshelves, which I love, Book Bossy, Bookworm Problems, The Reader I Have Been, Book People. There's just so many good essays in this, and it's a great read. But just because it's a quick read doesn't mean it's not great. I loved it. I actually kind of savored the essays and read this over a couple of days, and I love it. I think it's perfect for fall. So I'll put that one in the description box. And then I had a hard time figuring out these other two. I have two other fiction. Those are nonfiction. Oh, Melody said, great idea to give as a gift for Christmas. Absolutely. I think both of these would be incredible Christmas gifts. When this one came out, I gave this one away like candy. I I've ever given away as many copies of a book. I gave this one away to everyone I knew that loves to read or that loves to cook. And this one is, if you're any book nerd in your life, anybody who enjoys reading, this one's a perfect gift, and it's really, really pretty. So yes, definitely take advantage of that. And then the other two titles here are fiction. I had a really hard time trying to figure out, other than those Louise Penny books I was telling you about, what fiction feels like fall. I've read a couple of really good fiction books this year, but I couldn't think of something that was like, you know, I read a couple that felt like summer reading, but I actually read this next one I'm gonna recommend last fall, and so I would highly recommend it. I think it would be really fun to read anytime, but it kind of has that, like, you know, that kind of back to school, wearing wool sweaters, you know, walking around an Ivy League campus kind of feel. It's called The Jane Austen Project, and this is not what you would think. I loved this book, and actually Anne Bogle, who wrote I'd Rather Be Reading, from Modern Mrs. Darcy, recommended this on one of her reading guides the year it came out. I can't remember if it came out last year or the year before. Yeah, actually, you know what? This did come out in spring of, I am corrected, of 2017, but it's a perfect book to read in the fall. It's kind of it talks about the characters in Jane Austen, but basically it starts out and you're like, what's happening? But it's these two time travelers from the future. Go with me. It sounds crazy, but it's so good. A couple of time travelers are from the future, and you find out just through their conversations that they have traveled back in time to the time when Jane Austen lived, and they have traveled back to find out something about Jane Austen's life as it relates to her books, because it's going to help them for something in the future. So it sounds crazy, but it was actually really, really well done, because if you like the Jane Austen movies, but you don't read the books because they're kind of dry and like boring to read, which is confession me, then you would really enjoy this, because the characters are awesome. There are these two scientists, and they come to Jane Austen's time and they get to know her and her family, and it's really, really interesting. There's like this whole fun plot that I won't go into, but it's really, really interesting. They're trying to diagnose the illness of how she really lived. And so the other cool thing is you realize, and I read an interview with the author, that the author did a lot of research on Jane Austen's time period, very specific things about her family and the history of her life. And they really integrate those details and what London and what England was like in the time that Jane Austen lived into this time travel story. So it's got a little magical realism in it. It's like a really fun story. It's got some romance. I mean, it would be a fun beach read, but it would be perfect to read in the fall. And I just flew through this one. I loved it. And I'm not someone who likes really, really light chick lit. Yeah, Melody, I'm glad to hear it. She said it sounds fun. I don't like, if it's really, really light and fluffy, sometimes I get a little bored, but you know, I like that nice balance where it's the compulsive, it's very, immediately grabs you because the narrator is really interesting. And the woman, one of the scientists, is the narrator in this book. And from the very first couple of pages, I was just completely hooked, because it's very believable, even though it's clearly, you know, got some fun supernatural time travel stuff in it. It's so, so good. So highly recommend this one. Perfect to read during the fall. And then I think this one will be a good one. I hope you guys like it. This is called The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. And I heard about this one as well. This one just feels like a fun fall book. It's a little, I mean, it's funny to say it's a little lighter than this other one, because I mean, time travel in Jane Austen, it's not like we're dealing with real life in that regard, but it's really, really sweet. Jenny Colgan is known for writing these really sweet, I think perfectly like cozy up with a tea kind of books. She's written about like the bake shop on the corner. And so this takes place, I'm going to read the back part of it. Nina is a literary matchmaker. Pairing a reader with that perfect book is her passion and also her job, or at least it was until yesterday. She was a librarian in the hectic city, but now she has the job she loved is no more. Determined to make a new life for herself, Nina moves to a sleepy village many miles away. There she buys a van and transforms it into a mobile bookshop that she drives from neighborhood to neighborhood, changing one life after another with the power of storytelling. From helping her grumpy landlord deliver a lamb to sharing picnics with a charming train conductor who serenades her with poetry, Nina discovers there is plenty of adventure, magic, and soul in a place that's beginning to feel like home, a place where she just might be able to write her own happy ending. So it takes place in England. It's about book people. It's really fun. It's just a lovely read. Like, you read it and you're just like, this is so lovely. Are there big scary things that happen in it? No. Is it a literary masterpiece? Like, is it written like, you know, Anna Karenina or War and Peace? No, but it's just a fun little read. So I highly recommend this. And this one I really am recommending because it feels like one of the perfect kinds of reads to read in the fall or the winter, but especially the fall. So those are the 4 books that I recommend that for cozy fall reads. And again, I'll put all the descriptions below. Just so to recap, we've got Bread and Wine, A Love Letter to Life Around the Table with Recipes from Shauna Niequist. We have got I'd Rather Be Reading, The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life by Anne Bogle. And then to fiction, we've got The Jane Austen Project by Kathleen Flynn and The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. Yes, Melody says sometimes you just need stress-free books. Amen. Yes, and that's kind of what I was going for when I was sharing that. I'm going to just really quickly share with you guys what I'm reading in the moment, and I know this is going to be like really specific types of books, so these might not be your jam, but I thought I'm going to do this video. I got to share the books that I'm reading right now. I am someone who reads 4 or 5 books at a time. As you can see from this, I don't usually read all this nonfiction, but I love nonfiction, and so I'm reading a little heavily on that right now. I actually have a stack of like 5 library books by my bed, and most all of them are fiction, and I'm trying to get started and find one that I really like. I don't read that many fiction at once, but I checked a bunch out, and I want to see which ones are most interesting. So if you want me to talk about that in another video, let me know. But just going to name these off real quick because I think there's a couple here that would be really interesting. The first one is a Tim Ferriss book. I don't know if you've heard of him. He wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. It's he wrote Tribe of Mentors, which actually, oh, it's really far up there. No, Tools of Titans. This is Tribe of Mentors. The titles are the similar. He wrote a really, really big book called Tools of Titans. He's a entrepreneur guru guy, has lots of tips of productivity, but I love this one, and I've been reading it for months, and I probably won't finish it till the end of 2018. It's clearly one you can dip in and out of. But it's called Tribe of Mentors, Short Life Advice from the Best in the World. And he just basically made a dream list of all the people that he wanted to interview in the world that were just really successful, from people that were not known in the public, but were like, you know, researchers, inventors, neuroscientists, business people, to people that you might know that were celebrities, you know, actors, Ariana Huffington, who started Huffington Post, all sorts of people. He made a huge list of all of his dream people and wanted to interview them and get their life advice so that he could kind of put it together as like, you know, your book of mentoring, of just getting their advice on life and interviewing them. And he said about half of his list did not respond and half of it did. And these interviews are fascinating. He asks the same questions to everybody, like, what is an investment? What is one of the most best investments you've ever made? How has a failure set you up for later success? What purchase of $100 or less has most impacted your life in the last 6 months? What books you've given most as a gift, or what books have influenced you? If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why? I mean, just really interesting questions and an incredible list of people. So as you can see, I'm not even halfway through, and it normally comes in hardcover. I bought this book on Amazon because they released it in paperback in the UK, and I love paperbacks, so I'm a geek and I picked it up. And I've talked about this in a previous favorites video as well, but it's really interesting, and so I thought you guys might be interested in that. So it's called Tribe of Mentors by Timothy Ferriss, or Tim Ferriss. And then this one was, I don't even know where I found out about this one. Oh, very valuable book. Thanks, Melody. Thanks for the vote on that one, or enjoying that. I think it's incredible, and I have gotten so much from it. Let me actually, since we're talking about it, let me pull the other Tim Ferriss book down from my large bookshelf here. It's way up top. And you can see, this is very similar to size of, if you buy this book in the US, it's gonna be big, almost this big, not quite. This was the one he first put out. And I have to say, I didn't read it all the way through because it's very dense, but it's pretty incredible. It's called Tools of Titans, The Tactics, Routines, and Habits of Billionaires, Icons, and World-Class Performers. This is one you could just dip in and out of probably for a year or two, and every time you read it, take notes. And so I felt like he probably wrote this one to make it a little more accessible. It's not the same information, but he just thought, I want to scale down my interview questions. So while this one's great, and if you can find it, I think it's in paperback now, I recommend picking it up because there's some great information in it, but it's a little more dense, and kind of a little more, not difficult, but you have to kind of wade through it, right? And this one's a much easier read, but you're still getting a lot of great information. So that's what I would say. So I'll link them both, but they kind of go hand in hand to me. And then this next book, these others are going to be like way off of that topic, but I don't even know where I found out about this one. It's called Courage, Dear Heart, Letters to a Weary World. Oh yeah, Melody, either one of those books, Tribe of Mentors or Tools of Titans, would make an excellent audio book to listen to. And I have to confess, I need to listen to more audiobooks, and I just don't sometimes. I forgot that you can't see because it's backwards, but I thought this would be kind of fun. I usually try to have a little bit of caffeine-free tea before I go to bed, kind of to unwind. And even since I'm going to bed a little later tonight than I normally would, I picked up my library. This is my New York Public Library book, and Neil Gaiman, who is an author, wrote A Book is a Dream You Hold in Your Hand. So I'm a big fan of this mug, but I thought it would be fun for my book video. So this one's called Courage, Dear Heart, Letters to a Weary World by Rebecca K. Reynolds. And I think I have a lot of friends that are writers and authors, and they told me, yeah, Melody, I know, I'm so late. I'm up really late. And in the next few weeks, I will not be able to do that. So I just want to make sure and get this live video. So just I'll share a couple more books and I'll be done. But this one I found out from one of my writer friends. And it does have more of a spiritual and faith angle to it. The woman who wrote it is a Christian. I don't know that you need to be a Christian to read it, but she's writing it through that lens of her own life. But I didn't know if I was going to like this one at first, and I've started to really kind of read it slowly and kind of chew on the passages, and the more I read it, the more I like it. It's basically a bunch, every chapter is a letter that she has written with a different theme to kind of encourage you, to give someone strength and courage. Courage, Dear Heart is actually a quote from the Narnia books, where Aslan, the lion creature, says to the young children, Courage, Dear Heart, and that's where the title came from. So you've got a note to the reader, a note to the rejected, a note, and there's little titles. There's one called I Know a Stranger, a letter to the rejected, Bird with a Broken Wing, a letter to the long sufferer, let's see, Scared to Death, a letter to the fearful, Protein Soup, a letter to those living in chaos. And so it's very interesting, but I wasn't sure I was going to like it, and I am really enjoying it because she's a good writer. And so she's kind of weaving in aspects of her own life with just her, you know, take on things, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like I said, it's written through the lens of faith, so if you're not a person of faith, I don't know if this would completely relate to you, but I think there's a lot of really good wisdom, so I'm sharing it because it's interesting. And then I'm reading another book, actually another nonfiction spiritual memoir. It's kind of my catnip. It's a book. It's a kind of book I love. I know it's a unique taste, but I've heard about this one for a long time, and I'm actually reading this one. Oh, thanks, Melody. I'm reading this one because I'm kind of vetting it because I want to send it to my brother, and I want to read it first before I send it to him. But I'm also really interested in it. This guy, I don't know how to say his last name, Mike McHargue, M-C-H-A-R-G-U-E. It's called Finding God in the Waves, How I Lost My Faith and Found It Again Through Science, which is interesting, right? So this guy grew up in the church and grew up a Christian, but had a lot of questions. I'm, again, not all the way through, but I found out about this because this guy is apparently a podcaster and has done a podcast called Science Mike. And so he loves to talk about issues of faith and science. And so a lot of people feel like people that are people of faith don't have a lot of knowledge and wisdom rooted in science. And it really is refreshing to me. Oh, wow. Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry, Melody. She's, I don't know if I should share that or not, so I won't say that comment out loud, although I know they can see it on the replay. But this might be a book that would be interesting, but let me tell you a little bit about it. But this might be something for your son. I think this is something I want to give to my brother for sure. But basically the story is, from what I understand, is he was a Christian and then he became an atheist because he got so into his study of science that he became an atheist, and then came back to being a person of faith through his science and through his love and his knowledge of science. And so I really appreciate it because a lot of times people say that science leads them farther from their faith. And for me, I believe that the knowledge of science can just draw you closer, you know? And so I thought that was a really interesting concept, and he believes that as well. And it's really well written, and it's not sugar coated. It's very honest. There's nothing bad in it. I mean, there's no profanity or anything, but I love that he's really down to earth and real and tells you exactly what he went through. He doesn't try to make it like a perfect little, story that is wrapped up in a bow. He's really down to earth and true to life. And that's what I love. And I listened to some interviews with him on a podcast, and those interviews are what made me want to pick this up. Melody, the book is called Finding God in the Waves, How I Lost My Faith and Found It Again Through Science by Mike McHargue, McHargue is his last name. And he's also known as Science Mike. And he has a podcast called Ask Science Mike. So that's why I'm reading it. I think it's fascinating reading. I really am enjoying it, and he's a really good writer, but I'm reading this to see if this is something I can give to one of my family members. So I'll put the link down below, Melody, but yeah, this might be one you want to check out. And then I actually have a couple other books I'm dipping into, but what's funny is a lot of times, oh, you're welcome, Melody, no worries. So one of my favorite authors that writes about spirituality and faith and writes a lot of nonfiction memoir is Rachel Held Evans. And she actually wrote the blurb, which is what the writers speak for other writers endorsing a book. And so when you're trying to get your book out there, it's a lot of times important to see if someone would recognize blurbs your book. Well, Rachel Held Evans wrote the blurb for this book, and this is her book. So that's the only reason why I'm talking about that. But this one is her latest book. I'm reading this because I love her writing, and I've read everything she's ever written. It's fascinating, and if you're interested in this topic, I would read it. But if you've never read her stuff before and you want to read like some nonfiction spiritual memoir, I'd actually recommend some of her other books. She has one called Searching for Sunday. She has The Year of Biblical Womanhood, where she kind of went through and did a lot of the practices in the Bible just to kind of learn. I don't know, it was kind of interesting. It was kind of like those A.J. Jacobs books where, he would go and, those themed books where they'll try something out once a month for a year and then kind of write about it. She's written some incredible books, and this one's really good, but it's very specific. It's about her journey with the Bible. It's about how she has struggled to read certain things in the Bible and how she has tried to really get back to loving the Bible. And so it's called Inspired, Slaying Giants, Walking on Water, and Loving the Bible Again. And it's good. I am only on page 29, and she really has taken some risks in this book. She writes a lot of different chapters about different aspects of the Bible, and has written short story. Like one chapter might be a short story, one chapter might be like a little mini play, and then the next chapter she'll talk about it like in her own voice. So it's kind of a unique book. I really like it, but I wouldn't want you to read if you didn't love this book, it's not exactly how all of her other books are written. So I really love a lot of her other books that she has out, so I can link some of those down below, but I'm just reading this because I'm a big fan of her books, and I love how she is approaching reading and talking about the Bible. So that's why I'm reading that one. So it's good. I like it. It sounds like it's a conditional recommendation. It's not. It's just I haven't gotten all the way through it, and I think just a little bit of that I've read. While this one's amazing, I would recommend some of her other nonfiction memoir. So that is what I'm reading right now. I know I'm reading very specific books, but I'm getting ready to dig into some fiction because I am trying to find some fun fall reads of my own. But I highly recommend all 4 of these. I love them. I just finished I'd Rather Be Reading last month, but I read this one last year, and this one in 2013, and I regularly go back to it again and again. So I will put the links to all of these books down below. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you guys are reading. I'm always looking for recommendations. I should probably put my Goodreads account down there too. I'm on Goodreads, and so if you do that as well, let me know. I would love to see what you guys are reading, and if you have any recommendations for me or for us, what would be a good cozy fall read, or just some of your favorite books, let me know. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it's not talking about essential oils. I actually was going to share an essential oil diffuser combo, and I ended up not even diffusing it. But if you want a good essential oil fall diffuser combo, again, it's not a secret, but I like to do a couple drops of orange, 1 or 2 drops of cinnamon bark, and then sometimes I'll add a drop of thieves to that. I just feel like that's the perfect fall diffuser combo. So if you want to really set the mood, on your weekend, you could put the diffuser on, get your tea or your coffee, and snuggle in with a good book. So Hope all is well in your world, guys. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be back at you tomorrow with another video, guys. Thanks so much for watching late. And thanks for tuning in, Melody. I hope you're doing great. So thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye. Bye.